Okay, it's Jim. So I'm always looking for opportunities. And I learned this from my father, who never let an opportunity go unnoticed. This is when you grew up in our house, my father worked so hard, you couldn't mistake the fact that he was always scouting out stuff. And a lot of times I think people think opportunities are rare, but that's not true. They're common. They're so common. They're flying all over the place. The issue is that, we miss them because we're too distracted. People are too distracted with TV and internet and social and drugs and parties and, whatever. You're too distracted, or you're even just thinking. People are always thinking about something else. Or, when we spot an opportunity, we're too afraid to grab them. What if we fail? What if we succeed? It'll be embarrassing, all these things. And the only way around this is to practice. And people have told me this over the years, and I never really got it until I was much, much older. It's another issue for another video, I guess. So we got to practice. We got to try one, fail, learn, try it again, get it, right? Start small so you don't risk too much. You don't want to risk, a catastrophic failure, but because the whole point here is to practice. And then you simply scale that process over time. This is simple. This is a very, very simple process that really everybody knows. So I think this opportunity bit is critical because life is brutal in that it can wreck anything it sees at any given moment. And you see this all the time. You see some people succeeding. You can very easily see them just kind of gliding through life like they have no problems. And some people experience these catastrophic failures that just destroy everything in their lives. And, what the fuck is the difference, right? So a lot of it is luck. Granted, but there's also the seizure of opportunities and the preparation and the practice and all that as well. So you never know here. You just never know. So when I see somebody who has had catastrophic failures, always a reminder for me that it could take decades to recover from some crash that life delivers to you. Or, sometimes there's no recovery at all. There's no coming back. And I know this to be true myself very, very painfully. I think about this all the time because I've missed so many opportunities over the years, but I've captured a few along the way as well. And, that's really great. I mean, I'm not a wreck all the time, just some of the time. A big one I leveraged a while back is actually represented in this image here. This is Atul, Chitnis, and he used to run a software conference in Bangalore called FOSS.in. And at the time, it was, I believe, the biggest open source conference in India, open source software conference in India. And I met him through a friend of mine, Denise Cooper. And back then I was on the Open Solaris project at Sun. And I had, a community development presentation I was working on because I was the community manager. And I didn't really have much experience delivering sessions to large audiences back then. But Denise thought, I'd be pretty good. And she said I should submit my presentation to the conference. And I wanted to go to the conference, and I had needed some reason to go. And so she contacted Atul, and she recommended me. And then I spoke to Atul myself, and I pitched my story, and he bought it. It was a good conversation. I remember it vividly, even though it was years ago. I was really nervous. And he gave me, it was like half an hour, 45 minutes of his time. And we went back and forth, and he gave me ideas and suggestions. And he said to focus specifically on contributions, how people can contribute, how people can get involved in this project, right? Don't focus on Sun, don't focus on the project in the sense of trying to sell the project, but talk about how people, developers can get involved and contribute and basically leverage the project and become a part of the community. So that's what I did. And his influence at the time reshaped that presentation. And so even now, all these years later, when I talk about communities and community development and contributions, a lot of my focus on contributions came from that conversation with him because he focused on it so heavily. And so anyway, yeah, he bought it, and I got the session. I got a session on the main stage, actually. It was the closing session of the conference, but it was on the main stage. He didn't just shove me into a corner conference hall, which happens. Sometimes you got to earn your way through these conferences, and You get a small room and then you work up. I got lucky. I got on the main stage. There wasn't a lot of people there, but there was enough, and I was pretty nervous being on the main stage, actually, especially for my first real conference. And that was the other thing here. This was not a vendor-sponsored thing at all. This was a real conference, and there was no sponsorship involved. So, I saw an opportunity. I grabbed it. I didn't fuck it up. I did it. And, it definitely changed me and gave me sort of a new lease on life, so to speak, because at the time I was going through multiple career changes from multiple crashes previously. And so anyway, my point is when I see this image, oftentimes I look at my stock of photographs and just look at the people. I like profiling developers. I just look at the stock of images I have, and it reminds me of stories. And it reminded me of this particular story with this particular guy. And my point is, we all need help. We can't do anything alone around here. This is not a world for individuals. This is, although we are actually individual in terms of a spiritual perspective, we need to collaborate with people and networks and institutions and systems and things like that to get anything done. You can't survive alone. That's why we network. That's why this is critical to build community and to build communities in the larger sense, but also your own community, your own personal community, your own personal network, because, you need someone to give you a shot. This, you can look at an opportunity. I saw that conference, right? You can, it's a great opportunity to go and maybe do a session or whatever. But someone at that conference, some human being at that conference has to give you that shot, right? And then you have to, you need that relationship. And so oftentimes you look into your own network and say, who do I know in my network that knows somebody at that conference? One of the organizers. This is critical because the larger your network is, the more connections there are. And you never know, somebody knows somebody else, right? And then now you have to be ready. You have to be practiced. You have to know your pitch. You have to know your content. You have to be good, but you also need that connection. And for me, at that time, that was a tool. And then I remember I went to the conference. I delivered the session and met him, had lunch with him, actually. I remember vividly sitting on the lawn there, having my first Indian lunch. I think that was my first time to India, probably. And just a good conversation. And I deeply, deeply appreciated his confidence in me and also the relationship he had with Denise that got me to that conference. And I still think about it now. And how many years ago was this? This was 2007. That's a long time ago. So his influence with me continues even now.